In this video, we're going to focus on how we can trigger on click and then show these additional text here below, and then when we click again, they will disappear. So let's start to look how to make this. So let's start to look how we can show and hide cart labels on click in Chart.js 4. First of all, make sure you have your border template ready, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. This link you can find as well in the description box. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to join my Patreon page and get the source code of this video and many others, check it out here. And of course, we have a Discord channel, join as well. All the links and the invites are in the description box. So what I'm going to do here is basically two things. Number one, let's convert this into a line chart. So we have these tick marks nicely aligned with our labels. Or we could maybe do an offset, but for a line chart it's not really practical. Let's do it for a bar chart is not practical, but for a line chart you can see here, this looks much nicer. Alright, once we have this, what I need to do here is now have some space. I want to put in cards at the bottom, and the cards will have a connecting line. We can call it our flagpole, and then we have the flag, which is the card that we're going to put in here. So for this space, we have to create a bit of space. For that area, we need to make space. So we're going to say here, layout, not scale, but padding, bottom, and then we can give it, let's say 50 pixels. We might fine tune this later on, but we'll see. There we are. Now we have enough space here. So what we're going to do now is start to create these cards in there. So to do that, I'm going to say a comma, and say plugins, then here, card or scale cards. And there we are. Let's copy this and make this as our plugin block constant, or scale card plugin block constant scale card equals ID of that. And of course, when would we like to draw this? In this case, we're going to say after the data sets has been drawn, or maybe even before. That can be fine as well. Before the data sets has been drawn, we will draw our cards. And of course, here finally arcs and plugin options. Alright, so now what I want to do here is do a object destructuring, which is based on our chart object here above. If you don't understand what I'm doing here, video is in the description. It's called Understanding Chart.js Object Destruction. Very useful to know. So I'm going to have here the CTX because we want to draw. What do we need more is, let me think, we need probably the data because we want to extract the data that I need to put in here as well, the text of the card. And then we have here finally the, I guess here, the scales we will be needing. And then I think we only need the X scale, but who knows? I'll just put both. And then later on, I need to make sure I have this value here. So that would mean that I need to have the options. So we say here, options. Alright, so now we have those. What I want to do here first is for the data, because I want to have some card text. So what I'm going to say here, card text or card, make it an array. And what I will do here is just say here, sale 3. I'm just going to copy this. 1, 2, 3. I need 7 items here. Make this 6. So we have some differences. And then the final one will be sale number 9. Alright, so we have these. There we are, that works. And we are allowed to do this because this is still a JavaScript object. Very important to remember. So now we have this. What we want to do now is start to draw. And what we need to draw here first is basically the card, which is basically a flag. You can imagine a flag shape. We have the pole and we have the flag itself. So let's put in the flag first with the color of our background so we know that already. So what I'm going to say here is, let's start to draw. We're going to say ctx.begin path. And what I want to do here is ctx.save. To save all variables above. So then we're going to say begin path, and then we're going to say here, what do I want for our flag? So let me just say here flag. And we're going to later on separate this. So don't worry about that. But for now, we just start with the basics. Flag, and then I'm going to say here, I need a few things. I want to have this flag have a border line. So I'm going to say ctx.linewidth. So we'll give it a 1 pixel border. Next, what I want to do here is I want to give it a color. So I say ctx.stroke style. Let's give it a black color. Very simple. Then what I want to do is, what is the background color of that? So I'm going to say ctx.fill style and make this any color I want. In this case, I'm just going to extract one of these colors here. Let's say here this reddish color. We could even do it in different colors. They're all different ways, but I'll just leave it for now. Then what I want to say here is I want to draw the rectangle. So the rectangle needs to be drawn. So we're going to say ctx.rect. And the rectangle has 4 values: the x value, the y value, and then here basically the width and the height. So where do I want to start? In this case, I want to start somewhere here down. So I need to get some values here. So how do we get certain values? For now, what I will do is I'll make this 10, 10, and I have the width and a height of 10, so it will be a square. And of course, to have this shown, I'm going to say ctx.fill, and then ctx.stroke to draw. So basically the fill will draw the background color, and the stroke is the command to draw the border around that shape. Save, refresh. As you can see here, we have it now up. Let's start to figure out how we push it down here. Well, for that, I have the y value here. So if I show you here, console log, or y value, I should say the x value. Save, refresh, open up the developer tab, and as you can see here, we get the category scale, and I'm looking at the bottom, and it indicates that the bottom of the scale would be 300 pixels. So that is very interesting. So if I say here dot bottom, I will probably get a proper starting point for here as well. Save, refresh. Alright, here's my thing here. I make one tiny mistake because it's still 10. The bottom should be on the y value, which is this one. So I'm going to put it here. So then, if I do this, as you can see here, now it goes down nicely. We can probably even say more now because I want to have like an attaching line later on. So let's say here, bottom, how many pixels? Maybe plus 20. A little bit more down. That looks maybe acceptable. We'll see about that. We can always play around with it. Maybe plus 10 is more appropriate. Anyway, there we are. So what I want to do next is it needs to match with this line here, and this line we can get as well. So how do we get this line? Chart.js has a wonderful functionality which is built in. So I say chart get data set meta index 0 and then dot data. Let's save that and refresh. Once you see that, you get all the point elements, and what you will get here are the coordinates. So let's make sure that this is all matched. There we are. All right. So now you can see here a few things, the x and y coordinates. So in this case, this is the x coordinate of point 0, which is Monday. Then here will be the x coordinate of point Tuesday, or index 0, index 1, of course, that's point Tuesday. So we get these values. So what I can say here is the data, let's say index 0 for now, and later on I will softcode this, and then I will need here the x value. This x value will be pasted here, save, there we are. Now it looks nicely aligned. Alright, so now we have this. What I want to do now is start to figure out the width and the height. Well, luckily the height will be very easy. I'll just say 20 because we only have one line of text here. So I'm going to save that, refresh. There we are, we have now 20. So in the center of this, we should now put in the text. So the text is basically the card text here. So what we need to do here is start to work on something, because we need to know the width of this text, because some text, let's say this would be longer, would have a different size. So we need to make sure that it's dynamic as possible to understand. So what I'm going to do here is, well, what we can do already is to loop through this. Let's loop through this first, so we have that ready, because we will have 7 items. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to get all the data, and this chart functionality here gives us the array of every data point. Let's say a dot for each. Basically, we're going to loop through all of these items, and then say every data point here with the index. Then I'm going to do function array function arrow expression. That's the right term. So we have here the shorthand for every data point. We have now access to that, and I guess we should not even do data point. I think this here is not necessary. Sorry, not like this, because we have the data here, and what I need is the card access. this doesn't allow us the cart access, because the cart access is one we built ourselves that will be not recognized in this function. So let's remove that one. Let's put a data, and then we say here dot data sets index 0, and then we can say here dot carts dot. And what this will happen, or what this will do now, is we go from data to the data sets, and then we access the cards. All right. So once we so once we have this, we have then here maybe the card text. Copy that, and we're going to say here, what do we need? Well, we need the card text. So let's see if we get the card text already. So card text, save, refresh, and as you can see here, we're getting the card text. It recognizes it, and of course we have here the other value of the console log. Let's hide that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say here constant text width equals, and then what I'm going to say here ctx.measure text, and then I'm going to say here whatever the card text is, and then we say it dot width. That's basically what we're doing here. And now we're going to get the exact console log value. Save that, refresh, there we are. And as you can see here now, as I do this, you can see with the text width, we get the values here. So this is the width of the text. And you can see here 6 times it's identical, and then the other one time with the multiple numbers, you can see here now it's longer. So that is nice, and it understands this. So what I would like to do now is, of course, just copy all of this, and or not even copy like that, because basically this I want to put in here. So what I will do here, well, let's copy this first. I will have to make a function later on. So let's do it like this. We have this here, but then what I want to do now is the text width will be in here, because this is the width, and remember this was the height. So if I save this, refresh, all right, now we're getting this, but we have the rectangle on index 0, but we can now use index as a number, automatic, there we are. All right, so now it starts to work, but as you can see here, I'm not satisfied because the Sunday is being clipped off. Why is it clipped off? Because it's outside of the chart area, and secondly, I think the text will fit in here, but there should be like a pixel or like left and right some additional space. So what I will do here for the rectangle for now, we have this, but then I'm going to say here the width of the text. We can say here maybe plus 20. Let's save that and see if that works better. All right, that looks much, much better. But this one, we have to push it to the right side. And to do that, I guess we can just already start working on our function. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy all of this, put it in here for now. But of course, this one is soft coded. This needs to be soft coded. So what I'm going to say here, function, let's call it our flag, and put everything in there. So we have that all nicely in there. That makes just much more sense. Then what I have to do here is say, I want to draw the flag function, but what we want to do in the flag function is get the arguments here. So that's one argument, this is the second argument, third and fourth. So if I'm looking very carefully, and if I'm correct, there should be 4 arguments here, which is correct because this is the x, I guess the starting point, the x. So what I'm going to say here, x, I guess we can say here maybe x, y with height. These values can be now placed in here. So once we got that, let's see if this works. If I remove this, save, refresh. There we are. It works, and we have soft coded the entire item already. Beautiful. So now what I want to do is make sure that we push this to the right, to the left side, if ever we are hitting or if we are outside the chart area. So what I want to do here now is the following. I'm going to calculate how big the space is. To calculate this space, I will do the following. I'm going to say here constant, and let's get here maybe the term boundary, or I guess boundary is maybe the right term. And the boundary is basically the following. I need to get here of the boundary, and I guess it should be even maybe in here, because I need to calculate this before anything else. So if the boundary is, we can say here, get this value, then we're going to say here, plus what exactly, plus the text width. So we know here the text width. And then we can say here plus what exactly. Well, if our text width, we still give these boxes a padding of 20 pixels. So we say plus maybe 20. Alright, let's do that first. So we get a value, console log, and let's get the boundary value. Alright, text width cannot be accessed before. That makes sense. Make sure to do it in here. Save. Alright, so we get the value, and you can see here whatever the value would be, and I guess that's this one here. So what I want to do now is I want to know what is the chart area value here. So the chart area value could be basically calculated very simply in, well, if I do a console log here as well, console log, I'm going to say here x, we should have somewhere the value of right side. This is letter R, the right, that is 600 plus, 686. So we say here the right, there we are. So what I need to do is I need to compare it. Is this bigger, which is in this case it is it bigger than the 686? In this case it is 700 plus, so yes, it is bigger. So what I want to do here is the following. If the boundary is bigger than the right side of the scale, in that case I need to change it, and else I'll leave it as it is. So let's save that first. There we are. Alright, so it understands this logic. So what I need to do now is just change this, put it in here, but let's put in the right value. We say here maybe negative 20. Alright, that doesn't work. I guess we cannot do that like that, because we have not this one, that is the issue, but the starting point. That makes sense. So how do we have to go back? Basically the text width plus this should be deducted. So we say here minus, because minus the text width, and then minus the 20 pixels, because we want to put the 20 pixels at the other side. There we are. So now we have this, but as you can see here, it overlaps. So what I want to do is I want to push it down as well. So how do we push it down? We're going here at the bottom. I guess we can say here, maybe we give it 20 pixels. So let's say 40, like that. And then, well, or if I do 30, let's see what happens. 30 would attach each other. I don't want that. So I want to do 40. 40 is fine. But this would mean we need extra space at our bottom. If we do 55, no, I think we can do here 60, 65. I'll accept 65. There we are. That looks quite decent. So what I can do now is making these flagpoles connecting here, because we have the space already here. Although interesting here, this one here has a smaller size. Oh, of course, because this is automated. Sorry, my bad. I thought it was it was fixed, but not. We already make this soft coded because of the text width. Alright, so now we have this here. What I want to do next is create a flagpole. And I guess we can do here another function. Let's remove this. This function will be the flagpole. And the flagpole will have almost a similar logic. So what I'm going to do is just going to copy all of this. Let's put it in here. But then we have to look now, what do we want? Well, we want to start from this point going up, or from that point here going down. It's one or the other. So we can give it black, we can give it the fill style. No need for a color, because we're going to work only with a line. Rectangle can be removed. There we are. So what we're going to do here is only working with two items. We're going to say here ctx.move to start or to define the starting point. And then we have here the ctx.line tool that will define the connecting line that we have. And both of them are x and y variables. So this will be quite easy because one of the variable we already have, that's this one here, it can easily go up. So what I'm going to do here is figuring out how we can do this one. And I guess we can say here x, and then maybe here x, I guess this can be x. Oh, here we are, 2, or x start. That's maybe more better. Just give it a better description that makes more sense. There we are. Alright, so we have these values that needs to be put into here. So now we have to figure out what are these values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the flagpole, and then we can just start here. Well, this one here is a restriction only specifically for this item here, but will it have a difference? Probably a little bit. The only difference will be there will be a more extended version of the line. So let's start with this one here, the flagpole. Then I'm going to say here, what is the x and y value? So the first value here we know is this one here, the chart data index x. That is our starting point. The next value will be the y value that we can find here. Remember the x bottom? Let's put in the x bottom here, and then after we will fine tune it. Because it's a straight line, we'll maintain the x value, or else it would be diagonal. So basically we're saying from here and then going down here. What is this pixel coordinate here? We can check this by looking at something else here on the flag minus 20 minus width. No, we probably have this one here with the bottom. This is the y value, remember? This is the y value. One says plus 40 and another says plus 20. So if I'm correct, the y value should be, hold on, no, not that one. Let me just test it. Let's put in a value in there because I'm slightly confused. Oh, I think this is the one. Let's copy this. Let's say bottom plus 10. Alright, so let me just explain what happened here. This here, if I put this away, we're just only here at the bottom, but I want to go down, of course. So plus 10 pixels, making it a connecting line. Beautiful. Alright, the next thing what I want to do, I want to do the same, but then for this one, but this one has a slightly longer flagpole. So probably here will be plus 40. So let's try that, save, refresh. There we are. Alright, so I hope you're able to follow along, and what I will do is I'll just organize these values because it's maybe slightly tricky. So these are the 4 values that I'm dealing with. Same with the other one here. Let's put them all nicely underneath. Alright, so you can understand this slightly better and it's a bit more organized. There we are. And alright, so we've got all of this here. Let's make this one as well organized. There you are. Alright, so we have this now. We're almost done here. What I want to do now is put in the text in here. So we're going to put in the text. So for the text, very similar logic. We're going to create now our, I guess, our flag text or something like that. You can give it any function you want, but not in here, of course. Here up. You can say here flag text or card text, but I just want to avoid using the term card in the plugin because we have too many terms of cards. So I want to just avoid the confusion. So I'm going to say a function flag text. Then what I need to have here is basically 3 items. I need to have the text, whatever the text is, or let's call it our label. Then what I want to have here is the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So let's start to work on one of these first. I'm just going to put it in here, and then later on we're going to just copy and paste it in the upper item. So I'm going to say here ctx dot, and then we can say here for the flag, we first do the font. So what is the font? I'll make it bold. Then I want to say here 12 pixels, and finally I want to say sans serif. Then what I want to do here is the following. I want to say here ctx dot fill style to give it a color, and let's make this as black. And finally we're going to say here ctx dot fill text to draw the text, and of course here we have the text, and I have here the x and y coordinates. So let's save that, refresh, and of course it will not work yet because x and y doesn't exist yet. So if I put in here right now 10 and 10, you should see here a working model, but interestingly we have an error, ctx.fill text. Alright, this should be fill text. Save, refresh. There you are. That looks much better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it down. And you can see already it is, well, we know the coordinates. Let's grab the coordinates. That's this one here. I'll put in this coordinate first. Alright. And then fill. This should be also as a small letter. Sorry. So now it will grab the black color. Alright. Fill text. Then I'm going to say bottom. How do I get the bottom here? It's one of these values here, or, well, in the flag, I guess this, no, this one here, and probably plus some additional pixels. There we are. You can see here what I can do here, plus 20. Once I did that, I can do here still the following. I want to say here a text align, ctx text align, center, save. Alright, so now we have this here, but then what I want to do now is I want to move that over to the center here. How do we do this? Well, remember, we had here the text width calculated. So what I can say here, if it's the bottom, or sorry, here, probably say text width divided by 2, but let's do text width first. So you can see here, text width. Alright, it's quite interesting. It works quite decent, but I think we had a 10 pixel padding for the box. So we say plus 10 pixels, or maybe even negative 10 pixels to get the text width aligned. Is it aligned? Not fully convinced. Let's see what is the number that we are using. We're using this value here. The text width is minus 20. Text width plus 20. I will leave it for now as it is, but I feel like it's probably missing a bit. Maybe it's somewhere off, but that's alright for now. Anyway, what I want to do now is make sure that we cut this, put it in our function here above, because it starts to work nicely, but this here needs to be a soft-coded label. So we're going to say here the cards. So how do we get there? We're going to say, oh, of course, we don't have to do that here. Sorry. So what I'm going to do here is flag. Let's grab all of this, and this will be the card text. I'm going to put that in here, and then I'm going to grab the card text. That's this one in the for each functionality. Then we can hear the x and y. So what is the x and y here? It's just all of these values. Alright, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, replace this all like that. Save, refresh. There we are. Now we're getting it with one exception, our item here. So what I'm going to do now is start working on that item. Let's see, I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to put this in our right functionality here. Paste that in there, save that. Probably have to fine tune the text because I think it's already outside of the area. So what I'm going to say here, I think it's all negative. Let's see how we did that one here, negative, all of that. So negative. There we are. Let's push this down first. We say here plus 40 because we had here somewhere that one here. That's 40. So we match that. Alright, so I think we can even do plus 50 to go even more down. There we are. But now I need to make sure our text width is matching. So we can say a text width, I think this should be divided by 2. That's what I suspect. Divided by 2, and then maybe here -10 or -20. Alright, that looks much nicer. I think here the same logic would work as well. Let's try that with our flagpole or flag text here. So we have this one, put that in there, and then negative. Just a dividing by 2. No, or maybe here plus. I guess it's slightly off. Alright, so I'll just leave that. I'll ignore that for now. I will not fine tune that one. But you can fine tune this yourself. It's probably a few pixels off. Anyway, we've got all of this and that looks quite nice. However, what I want to do now is I want to make sure we click on it. And if we click on this, I want to hide this or show that. So how do we do this? So what I need to do here is this value here becomes very important for me. The option value. Yes, that's what I said in the beginning. So what I'm going to do here is console log options, and then I'm going to show you where we're going. In the options here, I guess you cannot find it in here directly, or does it? Layout. Well, let's start to work on options dot layout, because that's where I want to go, dot padding dot bottom. If I save this, refresh, we get 65. And what does this mean? This is basically the path going to the options here. So that's very important. So we have this one here now. And all I want to do now is change this, that if we click, we update this and remove whatever needs to be removed. So that would mean that this will be 0 later on. If I do like that, refresh 0, you can see here now, it doesn't show at all. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is here make an onClick function. Very simple onClick. And then we're going to say here my chart. I'm going to get the chart ID name, then canvas, because I want to trigger this when we click on the canvas and say here add event listener. And then when we click on it, then we're going to say here this event will be recorded, and then we're going to do something. And what we're going to do here is basically say show cards. And the showing of the cards will be, that's basically our function. We say here my chart, comma e. And what this does is give us access to these items. And make sure this is cards, of course. Then, so finally what we need to do is create the function. So we have the show card here. We're going to create this simple function. And what the function will do is basically recognizing the click. So far we have this here, we have these items, and these items will be here now as a parameter, the chart, and let's say here the click. So now what I want to do is the following. So we had this item here at the bottom, and what we're going to do is when we click on it, we want to do something. So first of all, let's make sure we recognize the click. So I'm going to save it like this, and refresh, and now if I click on it, you can see we get a lot of information here. That's all fine. But I only want one single item in this case. In this case, what I want to do here, because all of this we don't need that, all we need is basically an if statement, or let's get first the item itself. So where I need to go is the chart object dot options dot layout dot padding dot bottom. If I save this, refresh, there you are. You can see here we get the 65 pixel that is in here, or sorry, not yet. If I click, then we get the 65 pixels. So what I want to do now is just very simple, if statement. Say if this equals strict 0, in that case what I want to do is I want to give this a padding of 65, and else I will give this a padding of 0. Very straightforward here. Let's save that, and well, let's put this on 0 and let's see what happens now. We do this. Now if I click on it, alright, as you can see here right now, this works, but it doesn't trigger here the clicking effect. So that would mean we need to update the chart, of course. That's the final item. So we're going to say here, chart.update. Save that, refresh. Alright, click. And then we click again. And there we are. So now we have a clickable item here showing these cards nicely underneath if we want on click event. And that's basically it.